One of the most frequent questions people ask me is when they should start dating. And a lot of people have these preconceived ideas that they should wait a year or two, and this is reinforced by a lot of therapists. In fact, early on in my own career, I used to tell people you need to wait about 6 months to a year, maybe even 2 years, before you even go out with anyone. This was presumably going to establish them in an independent lifestyle so they wouldn't be so dependent on someone else. But what I found was they instantly got into a relationship, poorly prepared, and instead of being honest about it, they felt the need to hide details of it because they knew what I had wanted them to do. So anyway, as time went on, I found that when people do go a year or two without dating, they're less prepared than those who dive right into it, even though there are risks in both categories. In fact, the ones who go the longest without dating are the most vulnerable when they do date. So I think it's best that we make up our minds that we're going to get back in the dating arena as soon as possible and not allow ourselves to become vulnerable. You probably remember that book that you read when you were learning to swim. And the reason you don't remember that book is because you never read a book that taught you how to swim. Because people don't read a book to learn how to swim, they swim. It's the same with dating. Not dating does not teach you how to date. Not interacting with other people does not teach you how to interact. So it's extremely important that we get out there and we do it, but with some guidelines. For example, making sure that we don't get involved with the very first thing that comes along. And this is very possible because when you come out of a bad relationship and you meet someone who is a suitable rival, what you're going to find is that you're going to be powerfully attracted to that person. But attraction isn't love, and it doesn't have the staying power. And if you're vulnerable to that, then it's going to be a very painful experience. Of course, painful experiences are going to happen anyway. So the best thing you can do is decide in advance that you're going to keep your distance with those that you do date. In other words, if someone tries to call you every night at 7 o'clock, then if you answer the phone at 7 o'clock, by the end of the week, you're in a relationship. So if you don't want to be in a relationship, you don't answer the phone. You become far less available. And if you date a variety of people, then you know what's out there and you know what to expect. So I would highly recommend that with some guidelines, and certainly while using your head, you get back out there as quickly as possible. Now, there are two different kinds of people who come out of a breakup. There is the independent person who is largely unaffected by the breakup. This is someone who wanted the relationship to end, and this is the person who is going to survive very well. The person who is most vulnerable because they're still attached to the other person is the dependent party, the one who did not want the relationship to end. So when the relationship does end, this person is going to be far more attached, and it's going to be far more difficult for them to get out and begin dating other people. And yet that is very much a part of the healing process. So when it comes to any kind of human behavior, including dating, which comes very naturally, by the way, you have to practice. If you were going to talk to a pitcher in the professional baseball leagues, and the pitcher has a bad game, would you tell him to stay out of the game and not play or practice for a year or two? It would be silly. He would lose all of his abilities within that time, and he would no longer be able to play in the pro leagues. So it's the same with the dating situation. No one is going to be without risk. You're not going to be without risk regardless of what you do. And so it's best just to dive in and learn how to date. And you'll pick it up quicker than you think, but like with everything else in life, everything else, including a good relationship, there's always some pain.